I think we can start. Okay, so let's start. Hello everyone, I'm Anushka Srivastav, welcoming you all on behalf of Code Club. Haven't we all sometimes regretted missing important scholarship opportunities and are confused worried about how to ace it or how the process would be? So, Code Club has got you covered, and we have organized this session to tell you everything about Generation Google Scholarship. Our speaker for today is our very own core team member Anshika Dubey, who is Generation Google Scholar 2021. She'll give you all the insights about the process. Anshika, you can take over.
Hey everyone, how are you all? So I know that this year the application started like really early for us. Our batch, the application started in around Feb March, but this year they started in December. So you guys got lot of less time actually. But let's hope that I can guide you somehow to make your application stand out amongst all of the other batchmates of you, like 2024 batch. So let's get started. Yeah, just a second, I'll share my screen. Okay. So is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So I have gathered some points that I took care, and like I talked to my seniors also, some of the past scholars, and I learned from them their applications. And I gathered some points which I think that are like most fruitful for a Google scholarship to get selected as a generation Google scholar. So these are some points. Okay, so let's like start with what generation Google scholarship offers to us. So many times people don't know what it offers and what is actually what is the impact that a generation Google scholar has. So the first point is that connection with a lot of talented people from all of the Asia Pacific region and people working in senior positions at Google offices all over the world. So like I'm a scholar and there are 70 other scholars, like there are 70 other scholars all over the Asia Pacific region, okay, that are selected. So I'm friends, like I'm in contact with all of them. They are all very friendly and we help out each other. So those are some amazing connections that I made being a scholar. And these are some of the people that I'm mentioning, like some of the photos of people. These people, like we had an online retreat, so these people came and guided us. They actually know that we are a scholar, we are connected through LinkedIn, we can ask any doubt from them. They are very professional, and like they're at a very senior position at Google, so they help out a lot. And these are very amazing connections that we get to make if we achieve this scholarship. The next thing that we get is a scholarship amount of $1,000 and a box full of amazing goodies. Just look at these goodies, guys. It's like it was such a surprise for us, and I got so, like, we all the scholars, we got so happy when we got it. It was just wonderful. And the next thing that we got is, yeah, so we had a virtual retreat this year because of COVID, and the last year also, like since 2 years it is a virtual retreat. But if you guys are very lucky, because since everything's opening up, and if it is in your luck, then you might have an offline retreat, and the offline retreat is of 4 to 5 days, and it's in any of the Google offices in Asia Pacific region. So you get to go there, like explore the Google office there, stay there for 5 days, and all the expenses are actually covered by Google. You don't have to like spend a dime also there. So it's an amazing experience, and you get to personally meet all these 70 scholars out there and all the other officials working there. It's an amazing, amazing experience. The next thing that we have is, what else does Google offer if you are selected? So one thing that we got this year was a mock interview with a Googler for the upcoming internship season. So like around mid August, I guess, I had a mock interview with a Googler, and it was like in like in the starting of third year, the companies start coming for placements in your own colleges. So if you have a prior experience what the interview is like, how the technical interviews are taken, you actually get to know how to perform in an interview. So a mock interview, and that too with a Googler, is one of the, like it's an amazing opportunity that you get, because they actually tell you what are your mistakes and what things you should take care of. And if you have a like actual interview for an internship with a Googler, what are the things that you need to take care of and how to speak, what to speak, everything they tell you. They give you a good review about your interview. It's a professional interview. Then there's a Google Scholars handbook that we got. This handbook contained a lot of good resources about every technology out there, about DSA courses, about every course that is out there available by Google. There was a good handbook, and about the coding competitions going on like Google Kickstart and other competitions. Now the best part was that we got all the 70 scholars, we got a direct interview for upcoming summer internship, like this summer internship of like at the end of third year that we have the summer internship, we got a direct interview. Because if you want to have a if you want to have an internship at Google, if you're going for off campus, then you have to give almost like you have to give first clear a test, then you have to give almost 4 to 5 interviews. But as scholars we had to just give 2 to 3 interviews depending on our performances. So this was like the best part of it all. And some of my colleagues, the other scholars, they actually got an internship. Like 2 3 people got selected directly for Google internship. So this was one of the best thing about it. Now, let's talk about registration process and eligibility. You might all know that what is the eligibility for it. So, it's that you have to be in the second year and computer related field or any engineering domain that you can be. And it is sometimes considered that non-computer science related fields are not, prioritized or something. That's not true. We have scholars in our group who are from civil branch or from chemical branch, and it's if your profile is up to the mark, then you will be considered for it, so don't worry about it. Now the next thing is, so these are the points this year's this is what the application process is going to be. This was mentioned in the website. So first is general background information that you have to fill, all of the things like contact information and details about your current and intended university. The second thing, the most important one, is your resume. I'll talk in detail about resume, but the resume should be highlighting technical projects and participation in community engagement. Then is academic transcripts from your current institution. Yes, so you are in second year, so you might have gotten your first year mark sheets. So you have to upload it, and it's bet and about the CGPA. Some people had doubts like what is the CGPA criteria. Yes, guys, CGPA is important. So I would advise you guys to keep it above 9 if possible. But there is a possibility if your profile is very strong, the other things are very strong, then the CGPA won't be considered that much. It is one of the like end things that is considered. Okay. Now there's a Google. You have to write 2 short essay answers. So these essay answers, I'll give you tips about it in the later slides. Then is the Google online challenge that will be there, and a 15 minutes meet and greet per shortlisted participant. Okay. Now what Google expects, so what Google expects out of us is, as participants, that we should demonstrate a strong academic record. Like we should have a good academic background in our college, we should be involved in technologies, we should have good knowledge and good views about some technology, and we should be strong enough to speak about it. The other thing is exemplify leadership and demonstrate passion for improving representation of underrepresented groups in computer science and technology. Yeah, this is one of the most this is as important as being technically advanced, because what Google is doing, it's helping us as women to excel in technology, right? It's providing us scholarship money and a platform. So what they want is, as scholars, we should also help out others and encourage others. And how can we promote women in technology? So that is one of the most important things. They want to see how passionate you are about the technology you are interested in. So suppose you have taken one technology that you are interested about. It might be web development, it might be data analytics, machine learning, it can be anything, doesn't matter. It can be just competitive coding, and it doesn't matter. But you should be passionate about, and you should have something to show that you are interested and you are working on your skills. You should have that. The next point is your efforts to make things work, your personal experience, what you have contributed in the society towards technology. So yes, your personal experiences also matter a lot, like how to implement that technology in your life, what have you worked on it. These are very important things. And for this point is for essays, actually different and genuine content about your working profile. So when you like when you write the essays, they should be very genuine. They should not be from the internet or a very generic answer that you write that is already available on the internet and the points are available there. So don't write something like that. Now comes the resume. So we'll discuss it in detail. So the resume should show that it's that, like there are 4 points: diversity, community engagement, academic background, and passion for technologies. These four things should be visible in your resume, like how community engagement and diversity you are involved in it, like how you're promoting women, how you're engaged in it engaged in a community. Then your academic background should be very good, it should be visible there, and your passion for technology should be visible in your resume. So as I mentioned, a good CGPA above 9. I had 9.04, so just 9 or 9 above is perfectly fine. Then good technical knowledge in any of the domains. As I mentioned, it can be web development, data analytics, machine learning, anything, doesn't matter. Just be good in one of the technologies or two, three. Okay. Some projects that show that you have implemented the technology that you have worked on. Like, yeah, some people also asked me that if we don't have a project, guys, you have 1 month, you can make a small project, or if you're interested in a technology, make one project at least if you can, or else you can just show your achievements. But projects show that you are involved in the technology that you are learning. You're not just learning it, you're actually implementing it. So it's very important that you have projects on your resume. The next thing is position of responsibility that shows your leadership skills. Just a second, guys. Okay, now sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So some projects that show that I have covered this point. Okay, now this is position of responsibility that shows your leadership skills. So they want strong and passionate women, right? So how can you show that you are capable enough to achieve this? How can you show that you can stand amongst the crowd, right? So that is visible through the position of responsibility. Like if you're part of any club in the college, or if you have taken a position of responsibility outside of college, or if you're part of a community outside of college, you are doing some leadership role, that's a very good thing, so you can mention it in your resume. Community engagement is one of the things that is important. So if you're part of a social service club or an NGO, it is a plus point. Not necessary, completely not necessary, but it is a plus point in your resume. Because if you are involved, that it shows that you're compassionate about the underrepressed people out there. Then you can include things that show that you are passionate about helping women grow in technology. So yeah, that is visible through your, I guess, if it can be shown through your position of responsibility, like just a informal point, like we are in a girls college, so if you're part of a club, then you are indirectly helping out women in technology, because if you're part of a club, then you are obviously having talks on technology or any other thing, so you can mention it because it shows that you are promoting women in technology. So that is one thing. If you are a part of social service club or an NGO, then that is one point that shows that that you are into, that you are helping women. Now you can have a small project also in it, like suppose there's women safety project, there's a website for women, there's many projects out there that are there. So you can make one or two small projects about it, or if you already have it, some project like that, then you can mention this. So this is one thing that you can do. Now the resume structure. The resume should be of one page. It should not exceed it. It should be clean, simple, consistent, and bullet pointed. It should look very professional. Don't make it very animated or anything. It should be like point to point, and the hierarchical level of the headings and the font size should be consistent also. Like keep in mind there should be no errors, typos, anything. That is also very important. the structure should be like on the top you should write education, then work experience, then projects, then activity leadership, honors and awards, these kind of things. So this is the structure that I follow in my resume. So this is and this is mostly the general structure that people in college follow. So this is the basic pattern that every resume should have, these 5 points, like education, work experience. If you don't have any work experience, doesn't matter. If you are any open source project or open source contributor, that also includes as work experience, so you can mention it there. Then there's projects, activities and leadership. This contains your club activities, position of responsibility and everything. And honors and awards, honors and awards should be of last 3 years, 3 to 4 is the maximum, but basically it's last 3 years achievements that you have. You should mention them, not like your school awards or something. But if the school award is of national or international level, then you might mention it, but it should be of last 3 to 4 years. That's the basic pattern. So till now, guys, any doubts that you have, you can unmute yourself and speak up.
Which kind of awards are
I had
expected?
Yeah, Samruddhi, you can speak. Yeah.
What kind of awards are expected?
See,
Can you give
it's
an example?
it can, sure, it can be technical or it can be non-technical. See, if you are a sports person or if you are into other extracurricular activities, then you might mention one or two, but like it should be of like great significance. Like if you're into sports or dance or something, then it should be national level, state level, something like that of importance. So you can mention that. And achievements and awards should be like, suppose you have taken part in some coding contest, you can mention that. There are many competitions being held in our college from different clubs, so it can be a college level competition, and if you have earned some achievement there, you can mention that. You can mention like there are city level, like Pune level, like all the like inter college competitions are also happening. So if you have that kind of achievement, you can mention that. So these are the basic achievements that you can mention. um,
How do we show our projects?
how do you show your projects? Okay, yeah, you can include a GitHub link of your, like, see, how we put our projects in our resume is a basic pattern. Like you write the name of your project, if you have done it in a team or not, you can mention that. You can mention the date, the timeline at which you have done the project. Then almost, I guess, 4, 5 to 6 lines are enough to mention one project. That's it. Don't exceed it more than that. 5 to 6 lines are enough. And that content should be like, it should describe the project perfectly. Don't make it like, don't use more, what should I say? Don't make it lengthy sentences. It should be sweet and concise, and it should explain the project perfectly. And it should include what impact it has on society or the outer world. Like suppose you have made a website, suppose you have made a college, like college club website. I made a college club website, so I mentioned that around like we have in our college around 3 to 4 thousand students, like they see that website. So I mentioned that these many people are seeing that website and they are going through it, they are using it. So this is the impact that a project has. So like this, you should include the impact, a numerical number, a percentage, anything, just include that. So these are 4 to 5 things that you mentioned in the project.
Okay, so these things with the link of the project, right?
Yeah, you can like see, you can put a GitHub link. You, if it is a website, you can put the link of a website. If you have a, like suppose if you took part in a hackathon, so sometimes it happens that the project is not 100% complete, but in hackathons you submit YouTube videos of the project, like you record the working model of the project. So you can put that YouTube link of the project also, but something should be
Okay.
there. At least put a
Okay.
GitHub repository out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, chat box. If possible, can provide the template for the resume. We will see if we can provide a like outline of what can be like how to make a resume. Some 2 3 4 templates we can like give it to you guys. Sorry guys. Yeah, so if yeah, we will see, we can like search for 4 5 good templates that we think are professional, and we can provide it to you guys. Any other thing? Any other doubt, guys? Till now, till the resume section, I'm going to talk about the essays, I'm going to talk about the online challenge, and I'm going to talk about the interview also. So if till now you guys have any doubts, you can ask. Nothing? Okay, so let's get to the next session. Okay, now what should your essays include and some tips for it. So these are some generic points that every scholar says, because that is what we all followed. Like the essay should be very authentic and should show and outshine your personality. It should be of personal experience. Like if I'm talking about like if I'm talking about gender discrimination or something, like we have this question: what is a significant challenge that you believe women in tech industry face? So I have reviewed some answers till now, and they were all generic, like what is written on the internet, why like there's less inclusion of women in technology, and all these things are mentioned in the essays. But that is not the perfect answer. That is very generic, everyone writes it. So think of something personal, like suppose if you have experienced that, and it can be as little as I don't know, I don't have an example for it, but if even if it's a little thing that you faced as a woman in technology, that it was tough for you, you can mention it. It should be personal. You should make them feel that you actually believe that women in technology face this challenge. So it is a it's a tricky question, because like there are like almost thousands applications that are submitted. So if you write a generic answer that there's a work life balance, there's this, there's that, then that's everyone's gonna write that. Think of something very genuine and that you face in everyday life, or someone from your friend circle has faced it, or someone has faced it, some of your family member has faced it. It should be personal. Write it accordingly. Okay. Now, photos and videos are a plus point. Yes, this is one point that not much people talk about. But photos and videos, like suppose this question, what impact would not this question, but if like what is a significance challenge? I don't think so. You can like if suppose there was some photo related to some activity that you did, yeah, like suppose some social service that you did. Okay, so you helped women in technology. Suppose you have a photo for it that you can like show them that you have like help them out, or prove that you are included in that activity. Then you should put those photos in a drive and put the link either in your resume or in your essay answers, because that is a very big plus point. Okay, now what is the other thing? Write answers in a simplified and easy to, like, yeah, and don't complicate the answers. Okay, they will read the answer only once, so it should be understandable, it should have an impact on the other's mind, and it should be very good. So make it in a easy to understand way. Don't complicate the sentences much, and make it very nicely, and don't make any grammatical mistakes. That's one point that you should take care of. Just if you have written the essays, put it on Grammarly, it will check everything. And like don't make grammatical mistakes, please. And don't exceed the word limit. I guess 400 is the word limit this time, so don't, for one answer, so don't increase the, like don't exceed the word limit. Okay. For essays, do you guys have any more questions?
Could you please repeat the photos and videos point?
Yeah, so see, what I wanted to give was through this, that last year we had a question like what is the impact that you had, like we were like supposed to describe one leadership experience or something that as an individual I helped women in technology. So what I did and my colleagues did was like I I was a part of an NGO, so I took part, like I organized an activity. So the activities photos we have, right? So I put those photos in a drive and I put it in below my answer. So it was a proof that what I'm writing in the essay is actually genuine. I'm not just making some stuff up. So if you have a proof that you have helped women in technology somewhere, you should put it there. It's a very good point. So you can yeah. And so if you feel that if you're writing an answer and suppose you're giving an example, so if you think that that example you can prove it by some photo, then you can put it out there. Yeah, it should not be like of some difficult situation. It should be a happy moment photo, not some, on a negative way. So keep it in mind of that. Any other question? When we provide question, what is the time limit to answer the question? What questions are you talking about, Shruti? Just the essay questions? Okay. The essays are already there. These are the 2 questions that are on the website. So while you fill out the application along with your resume, you have to submit these 2 essay answers in a PDF format. So you have this one, I guess I don't remember the last date of the submitting the application, but you can when you are like submitting the application, you have to submit the essay answers along with it in a PDF format. So you don't have you have this much time, like 1 month time, if it is 31st December, the last date, whatever it is. Yeah. Any other
I
question?
can see the last date is 10 December on the site.
Okay, 10th December. Yeah. So you have time till you have 10 days to write the essay. You can have it reviewed by me or any other scholar that you feel will help you out, so we will review it. And yeah, one more important thing, when you are like start writing, if you haven't started writing the essay, start writing it, because when you write it on the last date, you don't have time to get it reviewed. And it is important that your essay answers are reviewed, because it increases a lot of your chances to get selected, because we tell you some points that should be like taken out of your essays, we tell you some points that should be included in your essays. So get it reviewed before submitting, it is important. Yeah. Next question. I guess there's no question. Just let me just check the chat box. Okay, so there's no question on essays, so I'll like move forward with it. Okay, so now comes the online coding test. So once you have submitted the application, you will get an online coding test link from Google, and every participant gets it. And the online coding test is of 30 minutes. Since last 2-3 years, it's happening of 30 minutes. The topics that were asked last year were DSA, and in DSA it was very basic, like C++, basic DSA, like pointers, for loop, while loop, these kind of questions were there. It was not linked list or something, it was not very tough, it was just basic coding. Then there was quant, there were some logical reasoning questions, quant questions that were there. They were one, like 3-4 only, but they were there. And some puzzles, like normal puzzles that you see in daily life, that were there. And english questions, like uh, complete the sentences, synonyms, antonyms, these kind of questions were there. And they were around 20 to 30 questions only, I don't remember the perfect count, but they were 20 to 30 questions, and we had to complete it in 30 minutes. So what's advised by us is, like, you have to be very quick, because everyone is giving this test, and it is one of the important part of selecting the scholars. So you should have the maximum score that you can get. So try to complete as much questions as you can, and minimum one, and those questions are also actually solved in 1 and 1.5 minute only. So it's not that difficult. If you have the concepts clear of C++ or quant and everything, then you can easily solve these questions very easily in a minute. Every question can be solved. Yeah. Any question on this coding round? How many will the quiz happen after 10th December, as there is no timeline? Okay. It might take 2-3 weeks. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks or maximum 4 weeks. The test might happen. I'll tell you the perfect date. Like I have it in my mail. I'll tell you guys. I'll inform you about it when my test happened after how many days. But basically, it is 2 to 3 weeks. Is this test proctored? Yes, it is. It is proctored. You can't change the tab. The webcam is on, and like it changes, so I can't tell you, but yeah, proctored. It is proctored. And actually the thing is, the test is of 30 minutes, so you don't even have the time to cheat, because you have to solve almost 20 to 30 questions in 30 minutes. So if you try to, it will just waste your time, honestly. So be as quick as you can. Any other question on this?
So can I ask,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
all participants get to give the quiz, or participants are shortlisted after they submit the resume and essays?
No, all participants are given the test link. As far as I know, all participants are given the test links. Yes, everyone gets
Okay.
the test link. Yeah. Any other question?
I would like to ask,
Yeah.
means if we give, if two students are having same marks in MCQ test, and
Mm-hmm.
student takes less time, and another student takes more time, so
Mm-hmm.
is the time criteria considered while selection process?
See, these things are not disclosed actually, but it is one of the the test is one part of the evaluation process. You are also evaluated on your resume and your essay answers. These are equally important. So it doesn't matter if, like, if suppose two-person are have equal marks. I don't think the time is considered, but you have equal marks, then your essays and resume will be seen, and they will be given more preference to compare between the two candidates.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, any other question? I guess this is it for this. Okay, now we have online interview or video call. So this is not interview actually. So when we are shortlisted, what we got to know, like during the retreat, we were told around 150 interviews happened, and out of those 150, 70 scholars were selected. So even if you get an interview call, it is one of like a biggest achievement, because to get an interview call for this application is very tough, and if you get this call, then be proud of yourself, like I'm saying it, because it is a, like, it's an amazing feeling when you get that mail that you have been called for an interview with a Googler. So it's amazing. So and the interview, one thing about it, it can be technical or non-technical. It depends on the person that's taking your interview. So like my interview was taken by a Google recruiter, so she was an HR executive. So my interview was very on the, like, non-technical. It There was no technologies discussed, but other things in my application and my resume. But some people were out there whose interviews or the talk that they had were technical, because their talk was taken by some Google engineer. So if he sees some technology and he's proficient in it, and you have mentioned it in your resume, so he will ask you questions on that. So please don't lie on your resume about any technology or any project that you have mentioned, because it's all your luck that who you get as an interviewer. So it can be a technical or a non-technical round. Now it will be a very short call, as it is mentioned that it will be a 15 minutes call. Mine was last year, the call was of 20 minutes. It's now 15 minutes, but it can extend up depending upon the type of discussion that you are having. It's discussion on resume and essay answers. So they want to see basically how authentic you were on your essay answers, and how true were in, like, what is the things that you have written in your resume, how true they are. So they will check it, they want to check that. So like suppose you have yeah, so the discussion would be basically about women empowerment, women discrimination, gender equality, and topics like this. They will like to know your thoughts about it. So read things like that. And it is advised that when you are talking in an like you are having this call, then you should include some statistics. Like suppose you have read in an article that there is only 60% women workforce in technical world, so include these statistics also, because it shows that you have actually read some article about it, or you're interested about it, and you're just not blabbling about it. Okay, now try to include statistics. Now discussion about, yeah, it is diversity, inclusion, and women empowerment. Basically these things they want to know. And whatever you have written in your resume, if you have suppose 3 to 4 projects, they will ask you on one project, any one project they can take up and they can ask you. It depends on the interviewer basically. And they can actually ask you to repeat your essay answer, so be thorough with it. Like if you have written some point in your essay, then you should know it by heart that you have written this. Because they like my in my talk, like Jocelyn, she asked me to, like literally she asked me like what was the answer for this question that you wrote. So she read my answer, I know what I have written it, and if it matches, then she knows that I'm not lying and I have written it, I have written the truth there. So that is one point. Now be confident. Yes, for every interview out there that you will give in your future, every talk or anything that you have in future, be confident. If you're confident and you can make them believe that you are capable enough, then they will believe that you are capable enough. But if you stammer, or if you are not confident about your thoughts, your resume, your essays, then you won't obviously get selected. They won't believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So believe in yourself. Now, and talk with examples. Like suppose if they have asked you a question, then talk with examples. Try to include as many examples as you can. Like what I would suggest for this is, what I did is, before my interview, like for 1 week, I went to, like I found all the questions that were asked previously in these talks to all the past scholars. There are articles on Medium. There are many articles out there that are present. There are YouTube videos there, where scholars have mentioned what the interviewer has asked them. Take those questions on a paper and pen, write answers for them, and be thorough with them. Don't stammer there. Be clear with your thoughts there. And like, because these topics are, you know about diversity, inclusion, and women empowerment, but it's difficult to talk about. So be thorough with it. Like, be prepared beforehand, a week before, write everything down. For your resume also, whatever you have written on your resume, think of yourself as an interviewer and see that what can be the different kind of questions that can be made out of your resume. So have the answers prepared beforehand, because this is a one time opportunity and you don't want to miss it. Yeah, this is one thing. Any other thing out there? Yeah, and find, like there are many medium there are many articles on Medium, and in those articles the past scholars have mentioned that these were the questions that were asked to them, and you can like see like prepare beforehand. So for this, any questions that you guys have? It's Q&A session anyway, so yeah, you can have your questions now. Is there no?
Hello.
Yeah.
Is this Google Scholarship application is like for every year they release the application to apply for students?
Yes, but it is for second year students only, like first year and second year. This year I think it's for second year, but till last year it used to be first and second year students. So you are in your
Okay.
second year, so you can apply this year only, not after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question you guys have?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. So on the application, I'm on the site of Google, and
Mm-hmm.
there are like the second question is current transcript, like below the resume.
Yeah.
So what exactly is like a
It's the
transcript?
mark sheet that you get from college, your first year mark
Oh,
sheet.
okay, okay, okay.
Yes. You have to upload it in the PDF form. Anything else?
Hello, Anshika.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anshika, I wanted to know whether if the interviewer asks us a technical question, what is the general depth of that technical question? Like, how much should we know about that technology?
Okay. Not much, but like suppose you have mentioned in a project that it shouldn't be like it's not very in-depth knowledge that the person asks, because since see it's going to be a 15-minute long interview only, so they are going to cover as much as they can. So it should be basic technical knowledge about the technology that you have mentioned. But just like if you have mentioned a technology, don't put it like if you don't know anything about it and then also you put it. You should know basic knowledge about it, because they'll ask basics only. But if you have mentioned a project and the technology that you have used in it, and if it's a very interesting project, and suppose by chance the person who's taking your interview is a technical engineer, and if his interests also align with it, so it might be possible that the whole 15-minute conversation will be on that technology, on that project, how you made it, how that technology was used, why that technology was used, why not other technology, and things like this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question, guys? If it's not, then perfectly fine. Okay, so just a quick question: how many have you started with the application, like filling out the application and stuff? Shivani Mishra. Yes, Shivani, you have started with the application.
Oh, yes, I did put in the question for this one. I do
Okay.
not really have a good project
Mm-hmm.
completed. I've
Mm-hmm.
been working on some, but I don't think I'll be able to complete them in like 10 days. Would you
Mm-hmm.
suggest me working on a small one for 3 to 4 days?
Okay. See, even if your project is not completed, you can mention an ongoing project also. It's not a big deal. You can mention ongoing projects, and you should know about like. See, you are mentioning right now the ongoing project, and when you will have the interview or anything, that time the project might be completed. So you can mention that I have completed this project. And for a small project that you can work on, for me the easiest project that would be, if you are into machine learning or data analytics, you can like have there's many competitions going on Kaggle. I think, I am not sure about this, but yeah, and you can take a small project out of there, or you can make a small website. You can work on a small website just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's easy to learn, so you can make a website also. It can be made in 10 days, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
Welcome. Any other thing? And guys, one more thing. Even if you're not sure that your resume is not up to the mark or your application is not up to the mark, like then also fill up the application, because when you start applying for something, then only your resume is made, then only you are able to, like, you will write 1 2 essay answers here, then for the next application you will know what were the mistakes that you did in your last essay, what were the things that you can include. Your essay writing also improves, and the resume also keeps on building up, and it gets improved every time you apply for some new program, a new scholarship, or a new opportunity out there. So like keep applying, don't just be underconfident that I won't be selected, so I won't fill up the application. Don't think like that. Just fill it up.
Can you repeat your like resume structure again?
Okay, so first was my academic education. So I mentioned my, like, I was in second year, so I mentioned my first year CGPA, my 12th and 10th percent grades, CGPA or percentage, whatever it is. Then I mentioned my project work. There were 3 4 projects at that time, I guess. So I mentioned them. Then there was technical. Then there was achievement section. Yeah. Then there was achievement section of mine. Then there was technical skills. There can be a skills, like you can mention the skills, every skill that you have. So you can make a section out of it. And then there was position of responsibility, and the last section was social work that I did.
What exactly is position of responsibility?
Position of responsibility is like I'm the head coordinator of code club, so that is one of my position of responsibility. At that time I was a student representative in SWE, so that's a position of responsibility. And if in any club you are a part of a core team member, then that is a position of responsibility that you have.
Okay, thank
And
you.
in position of responsibility you can describe what you have done in the club, like what the club does or what you did as a part of club. That should be mentioned in 1 or 2 lines. Don't exceed it too much. And the resume
Okay,
should be in 1 page. Don't exceed it more than 1 page.
okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any questions, guys? You can write them on chat box or you can unmute yourself.
What were the projects that you worked on? Okay. So at that time, the projects that I did were okay. Yeah. So one was SWE website, Society of Women Engineers website was there. I worked on it. There was I took part in an hackathon. So we made a website called Simplifica for it. So I mentioned that. There was a tic tac toe game that we made. I mentioned that. And there was a data analytics project also. It was a very small project because it was a part of a coursework, but I mentioned it. It was a small project, but I mentioned it. As I said, even if it's a small project, doesn't matter much. Just mention it. It shows that you have actually worked on something. Anything else?
I think also the course project we make at the end of every semester. It's a
Yes,
small
you.
project, but you should write.
Yes, since you are in second year, and if you have that course projects that you do for labs, right? The mini project, you can mention them also. Those are also good projects. You can mention those mini projects also in your resume if you don't have any big project right now or any project that you worked individually or in a group for. We can mention that. Can we show Hacktober? Yes, of course. You can show that. You can mention, even if Hacktoberfest is like open source, right? So you can mention it in work experience also. You can mention it in achievements and like if you have got a rank there, like suppose you were top one of the top contributors or something, then you can mention it in achievements. And if you were not a top contributor or you were just a contributor, then you can mention it in work experience there.
And they can also mention about what do you contributed there, like you contributed some web development code or some which
Yes.
algorithms.
What in resume, whatever work experience, project work, position of responsibility, one side, like you put one word heading and then you describe what you have done there. You should, like, it should not exceed, it should not be a long paragraph, but 2 3 lines you can describe what you have done there. Anything else, guys?
We are waiting for your questions. Any more questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
If you could give us an idea that what has more weightage, the essays, the resume, or the coding test?
Actually, that's not known by anyone out there. It's not disclosed to anyone. They all three have equal weightage for, like, they all have preferences. It's not disclosed to anyone, so I can't say anything about it. But they all three are very important, so you should focus on it.
Okay, thank you.
It's like give your 100% to all of the sections.
Yes.
Anshika, I
Yeah.
wanted to know, can we mention about competitions in which we have participated but not won any prize or anything?
You can, in the achievement section, yes, you can mention the participation also. But it should be at the last. Suppose you have some good achievements, then mention it at the top, and after them, after the good ranks and everything, then mention the participation. But if you don't have some good ranks in any of the competitions, then you can just directly mention the participation also. It's okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Like they can mention, right, if they were a team leader or something and experience for it.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Also, when you're
if I have
mentioning, yeah, yes.
if I have social work experience but it's not exactly tech related, I still put it on there.
Yes, yes, of course. My social work was nothing related to tech. It
Yeah.
was NGO work out there, like the college NGOs that are there. I was part of them, so that was the social work that I did. So it's not important that it is technical related, but it should be social.
Also, because I wasn't a part of an NGO as such, I don't have any corroborative proof of someone stating that I participated because I led an own organization.
Mm-hmm.
I might have a picture. So,
Yes, so you can like you can mention that in your resume, or if you are using that as an example in your essay, so you can put a picture depending upon where you are mentioning it and put it on Drive and put the link there.
okay, sure. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? I guess there aren't any other questions.
I
right?
guess there are no more questions.
Yeah.
So thank you so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we mention if we got any scholarship, like means I'm getting a Leela Poonawalla scholarship, so can we mention it in our resume?
Is it okay, is it some educational scholarship, like on your merit based scholarship?
Yes, it is merit based.
Okay, then you can mention it. It should be merit based, not category based. Then you can mention it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's conclude the session. Thank you so much, Anshika, for all the information and insightful details that you shared from your experience. And thank you everyone for joining us. I hope this session was helpful for you, and all the very best for Generation Google Scholarship.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to me and coming here, and all the best for your application.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you. Let's conclude this session.
Thank you.